What's up, YouTube? Devin Midrow here, coming at you again. What's going on over there? Okay. Yeah, the things you see on the road, man, when you're driving, it's pretty wild. But yeah, I'm coming back to you with video 52. Video 52. Pretty sure. I got to keep track, right? The hardest part is when I got a little weekend in between, right? And I come back and I'm like, oh man, memory is fallible, right? Your memory is fallible, meaning like the longer, with each passing second, it's highly likely that you will have a harder time remembering something. It's so interesting because the things we can remember are kind of amazing too. Like some things you remember, you're like, wow, I can't believe I remember that. That was years ago, and it's kind of just the most amazing thing. The brain, human brain, is one thing that we really still don't quite understand, and it's similar in a sense, at least a part of it. This is just a small part of what the brain does, but a brain is it's a data storage center, right? Like you store data on there, you collect and store data, you analyze it, right, and all that stuff, and it's similar to like a computer hard drive, right? You're able to store data in your brain, your hard drive, and when you need to tap into that data, you just go back and you just go, okay, you think about it and you go, oh yeah, I remember that, okay, and when you learn things, you I think ultimately you start to imprint on your mind, right? You start to especially if you do something over and over again, it's kind of like riding a bike, right? Like if you've been on a bike before, it's the first time you get on a bike. I rode a bike, right, when I was a kid. I had to learn. I had to fall down, right? I had to go through all that stuff. And I'm glad that I had a bike. I was blessed to have a bike when I was a kid, right? I'm glad that my parents encouraged me to ride the bike and all that stuff. And I rode a bike quite a bit, actually. That was my form of transportation. And there's no battery, operated bikes back then. I mean, the best thing I got that was battery operated was like a remote control car. And even then the battery was so, I mean, you could run it for like 15 minutes and then it would just it'd die on you, and it wasn't nearly as powerful as the technology we got today. So it's kind of, I guess that's one of the benefits of being a little older, right? Is that you get to reflect back and really appreciate the things we have nowadays, right? As opposed to kids just growing up with this stuff and they're like, oh yeah, this is normal. What are you guys talking about? What's a payphone, right? You have to put money into a payphone just to use it? What? Could you imagine? I mean, I don't even know. In fact, my kids don't even know what a payphone is, right? Well, actually, one of my sons do. He was around during that era. Yeah, it's just wild to think about that. How the landscape has truly changed and transformed, and how much we appreciate it. Some people don't appreciate it, actually. In fact, there's probably a lot of people that don't appreciate the way things have turned out, as far as the world and how we've progressed. We like to say progressed, but I don't know. In some areas, I think we've regressed, right? So, you think we would continue to get smarter as with each passing day that goes by, right? We'd be able to learn from our mistakes and then course correct and continually improve, iterate, and make those necessary changes. But I think in the same vein, what's pushing back when we're doing that is that change is constantly happening, right? So with change constantly happening, you're learning and evolving, but so is the world, and so is life as we know it. So as we learn and grow, we have to continue that process, right? So it's a constant process. It's a constant iterative process. And there's never a dull moment, right? There's never like, hey, I figured out everything. I know everything. I got nothing left to accomplish in this world. I guess I'm done here. Like there's always something else you can learn, something different that changes where you have to learn again, right? You might think you know something, but something changes, the algorithm changes, or, or whatever. There's so many different variables that could impact that. And then you have to go and figure that out again and iterate and adapt, right? I mean, I guess they say the survival of the fittest, right? Survival of the fittest. It's You know, it's one of, I think it's one of a very popular, you know, quote that's put out there, right? And there's a lot of merit to that, right? There's a ton of merit to that, because really survival, what do you need to survive? Well, you got to adapt. Really, if you really dissect what that means, is you got to be willing to adapt as life, as Mother Nature changes, right? Like nothing stays the same. So it's really the you know, the animals, the insects, and the life that is able to adapt to the changes that take place. Adaptation is such a critical piece to success, right? It's so critical, because you can have something going great, right? But if something changes and you just keep sticking to it, a great example of this is Blockbuster. I remember Blockbuster. That was my era, yep. I remember going there, we were renting videos. It was awesome until it wasn't, right? And then I think what really kind of the hinting, the new thing that came out was that Red Box, right? And hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure it's Red Box. You know, and they start having these you know, DVDs. You could just go in and it's like $1 or something like that. You just go in and run your credit card, put your dollar in or whatever, boom, it spits it out, and then you have to bring it back, right, or something like that. That was kind of the initial start when I think Blockbuster was like, whoa, we're losing a little business here. What's going on? And then, of course, you know, Netflix, and boom, and I think there's one Blockbuster left, right? So, you know, that's kind of one example of many, right? Is you got something good going on, and you're not willing to, you know, look at the market, really see the signs that what the market's giving you, and make those necessary changes. You know, even though it's gonna be tough, right? Change is tough, but if you don't, you could lose a lot, and then in Blockbuster's case, lose just about everything, right? And completely go under. You know, the rise and fall of empires, right? Even if you look at countries back in history, they rose to greatness, and you know, I think if not all of them have fallen, you know, in the, you know, hundreds of years ago, right? So here we are now in this modern day era, and in the U.S. we're one of them. But you got to continue to be cognizant of what's going on around you, right? Of what the future holds, and the decisions we make have to be very strategic. We got to think long term, right? We can't be thinking short term. Short term is not going to get us very far. We got to think long term in our decision making. So, anyways, that's kind of I don't know, take away what you will with this video, as with the rest. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Aloha.